Some people say that, oh, well, the IRS has a limited amount of audits that they'll do on your stuff. And if you extend, then the bozos who filed in April will get the audits, and then the people in October get to skate. But I can assure you, anything that gets flagged for an audit will be audited. It's not like they're like, oh, this guy should be audited. If only we had more audits available to us. You think?
Hi, welcome to this episode of Stacks Over Tax. I'm Sterling Grace, and this is Mark Lewis. And today, we're going to have a philosophical conversation about when do you file taxes. This year, when we started working on our taxes, Mark does what most of the Americans do, and he files in April. And I thought it was funny. I said, I've never filed my taxes in April. I always file an extension. I have the whole summer to get this done. I'm not stressed out. I meander about. Okay, so maybe I probably procrastinate a little bit, but it always happens, and I get it done by October 15th. And Mr. Lewis had lots and lots and lots of thoughts about my strategy about why I do it in October versus April. So we thought we'd have a little conversation about this today. So, Mr. Lewis, what is the problem with me doing it in October? They give you a form. They let you do it this way. In fact, in the state of California where I live this year, because of the fires, unfortunately, they just granted us all an extension. So now I feel super justified, as a side note. But tell me, why is it that you want me to do this in April again, where I got to rush, get all this done?
Well, it's just, first of all, your first fact about, I have all summer to relax. I'm like, right? I have all summer to relax because I did it in April.
Okay.
Well, what do you say to that, Sterling Grace?
I like my meandering approach.
Okay. Well, that's good. I like, no, I hate meandering. That's not my thing at all.
I'm a meanderer.
I'm not. So let's just have a little money conversation, which is, everybody should have a little money conversation. And especially when it comes to inflation. But more importantly, let's talk about what your CPA is really up to when they give you an extension. And a lot of people get excited about, an extension. Great, I got more time. Aha. And the procrastination thing comes in. But I don't really care about the procrastination thing. I'm not really a procrastinator, but a lot of people are, and I get it. But this doesn't have anything to do with procrastination. It just has to do with cash and its value. So first, let's talk about your CPA. When was the last time you got a return phone call from your CPA or your accountant or your tax preparer, your EA or whatever during tax season?
Never. It's partially why I think I get an extension.
A lot of people do that. They're like, they never return my phone calls. It'll be a lot easier for them when it's not tax season. So you got to look at yourself and go, wait a minute. I'm paying this gal to do my taxes. I'm not paying her to delay. I'm not paying her to not return client phone calls. What part of our business do we run where vendors delay delivery, are awarded for delaying delivery, and don't communicate? What vendor would we allow such a relationship with? No one. We would fire them immediately because competition is stiff. It's a brutal marketplace, whatever the marketplace is, and we would find a better vendor. Why then do we allow such disrespect of us as clients? Why would we do this?
I think it's just this standard operating procedure now for this industry.
That
I don't think you even question it. So yeah. And so few people want to talk about or deal with anything that has to do with math, that as long as someone else is going to do the math homework that's due every year, it's fine.
Yeah. And we have this weird belief that, but CPAs answer to the IRS and we don't want to make them mad because then the IRS might come after us and our CPA won't help us.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Your CPA isn't going to help you anyway. Do you have a contract with them that they'll represent you before the IRS? if they do your taxes. Some of you think that's how that works. Your CPA can simply go, oh, you're under an audit. Well, here's all the paperwork. Good luck. They don't have any obligation.
They're not sending those love letters to your CPA. They're only sending them to you.
So let's be clear that a CPA, it's good business. Well, it's good business for anyone. If you can get away with bad business acumen, to have bad business acumen and not return your clients' phone calls and to push their results 6 months into the future, freeing you up to work with much bigger clients that pay you much better, right? That's good business. And if you allowed it, then they're going to keep doing it. That's the nature, like you said, the nature of the business, because everybody's either scared, they're afraid, they don't want to deal with taxes anyway. Who does? And they're like, oh, well, as long as it gets done, as long as it's legal. Folks, this is why business can't succeed in America, because a CPA, they're not an accountant. They're not a tax preparer. They're not really, I mean, I know the IRS calls them a tax professional, but that's not what they are. They're sole proprietors. They're self-employed business owners trying to make a buck. And if they can get away with less to get paid more, like every self-employed person, why wouldn't they do that? Bill you more hours to do less work. And if work gets intense, they stop returning your phone calls. They charge you the same to do work later. If you really want to know how good your CPA is or your tax professional, when you say, oh, we'd love to do your taxes this year. That sounds great. Will you get them done by April 15th? Oh, well, no, we'll probably just do an extension. Well, what would it cost me to have it done by April 15th? And if they give you a number where you're like, yeah, this number, you're like, well, no, that's way too much money. Fire them. Find somebody who's going to get it done by April 15th. Why? Now, that's your question, Sterling. Why do we care?
That's my question. Why do we care?
First of all, we have to understand the nature of CPAs, right? They're self-employed. They're not accountants. I mean, they are. They're not tax professionals. I mean, they are. But their first job is to bill hours. So obvious. So if they can bill more hours of bigger clients and get them done by April 15th and punch you to October 15th, that's a better business for them. And you pay the price. What price are we talking about? Well, it's not that you get a free summer. We've already debunked that, right? Because I get a free summer and I file on April 15th. You've already spent some of your August worrying about your taxes.
I've spent a lot of my August looking at slips of paper and trying to determine where they go. So
we gotta disabuse everyone that there's somehow a free summer. It's more like a cruel summer. Quote Bananarama. Thanks so much for joining us here on Stacks Over Tax. And if you have enjoyed being with us so far as much as we've enjoyed being with you, smash that subscribe button and make sure you hit the little bell for notifications so that every time we put out a new video or any other kind of content, you're notified and you can have the great time again with us. Thanks so much. So if you owe money to the IRS and get an extension, we all know what happens. I mean, I hope you know what happens. You get an extension, but the bill is still due. And if you don't pay at the extension, granted, you don't have a failure to file or a late filing fee. That's horrible. But interest will still accrue. That's 0.5% or 6.6% per month. So that by the time you get around 6 months later, you're going to be paying more than 3% of the bill that you formerly owed. Whose fault was that? Was it your fault? Well, probably, because you should have told your CPA, no, I need you to file by April 15th. Will the CPA make up the difference for their lack of business acumen? No. Right. They're going to make you do it and then charge you the same for their lack of business vision or whatever they're trying to do. So everybody gets that. I hope you understand that if you owe money, you will owe more money because of doing an extension. Cold, hard facts. But what happens if you don't owe money and you got a big refund coming? Well, there's no fines or penalties for that, actually. Just file the extension and the money comes later. Now, first of all, if you have a big refund coming, you're already screwed. You're already like I'm handing money to the IRS for no good reason to hold in due course in a trust for me. Meanwhile, they get to use it and exploit it and do whatever they want. And I don't get it throughout the year. You should reduce your W-4, your I-9, or whatever that is, your deductions, so that you pay a little bit, honestly, at the end of the year. You getting a tax refund is the worst possible money management scenario, because the IRS is holding money that you could be putting into the markets or investing. That's horrible. But let's say you were getting a nice hefty refund and you do an extension. What's our inflation right now? Don't say 2%. Go look at the Federal Reserve website and you'll see how much money we printed this year and the bonds that we didn't buy back. And you'll see and just go to the grocery store. You'll see we're at 10% plus and have been since COVID. So if you, at 10% inflation, leave your money with the IRS for 6 months, you just lost 5%. It's even worse than if you owe the IRS money, because then you're only going to owe 3.5%. If you leave it with the IRS, you lost 5% of the value of your money and you don't have access to it. You could have invested, let's say, even in the S&P 500 at round figures, call it 10% a year, 6%. To say nothing, if you had the money and invested it in, let's say, round figures in the S&P 500, 10% a year, 6 months, 5% on top of that, you just lost 10% of the money you could have made or the value you could have collected had you just filed in April. Now, again, for LLCs and S corporations, that's March that you're filing. And for LLCs and S corporations, that's September for LLCs. And if you're doing an extension, not October. So you got to understand that this 6-month grace period, there is the only possible time that it's going to be okay is if you really don't have a refund and you really don't owe much. Then nobody cares. No big deal. Especially if it's like, a few $100. Yes, you get to procrastinate. And sometimes procrastination has value, but other times it does not. And in this case, if you have a lot of money that you owe, very bad. If you have quite a bit of money you think is coming back to you, first of all, very bad anyway. And then if you do, having that extension, you're losing possibly up to 10% value or more. Some people say that, the IRS has a limited amount of audits that they'll do on your stuff. And if you extend, then the bozos who filed in April will get the audits, and then the people in October get to skate. But I can assure you, anything that gets flagged for an audit will be audited. It's not like they're like, this guy should be audited. If only we had more audits available to us. You think?
Okay. So my procrastination costs are costing me, and I don't love that that's, no matter which way I slice it, I'm losing money that I could be investing.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that the IRS withholds money from W-2 people has two purposes. The first purpose is pretty obvious, and I totally get it. People are irresponsible with money. If you kept all of your check, you would spend it all, because that's what we're taught to do. And then when it comes tax time, you don't have any money to pay the IRS bill. And I get that part. But the second part is just as bad, but on the IRS side, they want to have your money at their disposal. And they've programmed us to believe that having a refund is good. No, a refund is bad money management. I got a $1,700 refund this year for my personal taxes, and I was pissed off. I was like, what? No, I didn't take enough. It was the worst. They took too much out of my check. I don't want that.
Wow. Okay. So my plan for next year is get done by April.
Well, you want to get done by March. With the reason being your S Corp and your LLC are due.
Oh, right. Yeah. I forgot. This is the big switch between being a W-2 employee to being your own business owner.
Yeah. Your C Corp and your personal taxes and your trust taxes, those are April. Yeah, that's fine. And part of the reason is that LLCs have to send, or LLCs and S Corp send out K-1s. And those K-1s have to have lead time for the people that are getting them, like C Corps and and social slaves like us, because that then goes on our personal taxes. And we can't really file our taxes unless we get those.
All right. A better plan for filing this coming year. So
I think so. Don't listen to me, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, you're right. So, okay. You've won me over for our little debate. So, wow. If you learned so much with us today and you want some more information about wealth strategies, make sure and check out our next video.